it started from a passion and a vision that I had to help women reclaim their power after domestic violence. So once upon a time, I used to be married who I thought was going to be the love of my life. And we lived and worked in New York City, earned six-figure income. And it looked like that we were the Hollywood couple. And this goes back in the 80s, the late 80s, 90s. But behind closed doors, it wasn't like that. He exhibited jealousy, resentment, narcissistic abuse. There were red flags, and the red flags did not appear. I ignored the red flags in the beginning because I thought it was me. I thought I was the problem. But then after doing research, after doing research about domestic violence, because he physically abused me mentally, there was mental abuse, there was financial abuse. When I recognized all that, I woke up one day with an awakening, an epiphany, and that was that I am going to surrender. I said, that's it. I'm taking ownership. I am no longer the victim. I am going to claim victory in my life. So I filed for divorce in May of 2010. And I went on a journey of self-development, and I invested in myself in personal empowerment and coaching. Then I became involved in the online space with the health and wellness company that changed my life back then. So I started to surround myself with people on a higher level than me, coaches, mentors. And more than ever, I said to myself, this is it. I said, this is it. I am going to, it's a path of rediscovery. You're rediscovering who you really are.
Yeah.
Because deep down inside, the scars, like if there's a lot of self-doubt and fear that women have because they are afraid to leave their abuser. And a lot of it is because of financial reasons.
So how long did it take you to break free?
It took me a long time. I was married for 23 years, but it was the last 3 years I stayed in my marriage because I was working on myself. I was working in corporate America to make a name for myself because I had lost my identity. I lost my sense of self-worth. And during that time, I was working on reclaiming my power and reclaiming my confidence back so I could be in a position where I could just leave, make a plan. So I made a plan. So I made a plan. I had support of the New York, because I lived in New York State at the time. I had the support of the New York State Police and the local sheriff's office because I had an order of protection. And I will never forget what they told me. They said, if you rescind the protective order, they said that we will not support you or help you. And I know what they were talking about. Yeah. So I had an order of protection and I had a plan in place to leave. I didn't tell him. He found out when I filed the divorce papers. And then after that, I took off and went to go stay with family for 2 weeks. So I had a plan, an escape plan. And then after that, working on myself, getting involved in the online space. I was basically living like a gypsy for 1 year. But then a year later, I made the move to Saratoga Springs, New York, and I moved to Saratoga Springs because I sought refuge there and I felt that I was safe. And so I did that. And then fast forward to 6 years. Well, let's go back 6 years ago. So I started my podcast because I was still working in corporate America. But I felt, you know how that feeling is, you have a calling within inside of you. So I had that calling inside of me to help women and to start my podcast to help women break the silence and share their real life stories of transitioning out of domestic violence trauma, because there's a lot of trauma. There's trauma. There's a lot of trauma that women experience, even after they leave their abuser because they feel emotionally attached.
I agree.
But
And
they've overcome, and now I have special guests who share their real life stories and now are authors, speakers like myself, coaches, and empowering women. So my mission and vision is to empower women worldwide because this is a global issue that I feel is still shoved under the carpet. Now people are starting to share their stories. More women are coming out and sharing their stories. And, my one of the things that I had to do was to break free from those limiting beliefs
absolutely.
because there was a lot of yeah, yeah.
Wow. So you mentioned, so I mean, you have actually been a person who has converted your pain into a purpose and helped more and more people around the globe. 23 years into the marriage before you actually took this step. You also said that you wanted to work on yourself. So you were working in corporate America and you were, at meetings and everything. How did this personal life impact you in the corporate world?
How did that person? Well, I'm not the same person that I was 15 years, 16 years ago.
Mhm.
But it had a huge impact. Actually, I was let go from a very lucrative full time job at the time because I allowed him to sabotage me, and he sabotaged me and prevented me from going on business trips because he claimed that he was just not feeling well, and which is not true. And then I found out that he was talking behind my back, and he was actually diagnosed as having bipolar disorder. And then when that happened, even though he was going to um, I think it was a psychologist or psychiatrist, I don't exactly recall. I had to make that move. I had to leave, and so I lost my corporate job. And the next thing you know, I found myself $50,000 in debt
Oh,
because I found out that he wrote balance transfer checks again to buy mutual funds. So we had accounts in both names except for one account. So one account I had in my own name. So I had some money put aside. And that was tough, but I did it. I
yes.
was able
Yeah.
to provide for myself, and I got help from family and friends. My parents, God rest their souls now, they're up in heaven, but they helped me. I wrote out a check. I wrote out my last check for $5,000 to my attorney to begin divorce proceedings because I had I had it within me. I had it in me that I was going to leave no matter what.
Hmm. True.
I was going to step into my new identity, and didn't matter how much it was. That was an investment as far as I'm concerned. So I
Absolutely.
invested $5,000, and then my parents helped me pay the balance of the legal bill. So they helped me, with food, and because I was staying in other people's homes, and I needed help, so my parents provided for me. They helped me. I was collecting alimony. Then I did have money put aside. So the best advice that I can give to women right now is to make sure that you have a safety net in
Obviously,
your own name.
financials have to
Always
be, yes, absolutely.
financial, at least 6 months put aside.
Yeah, true.
At
But
least 6 months to so I had 6 months of savings put aside. And then
you could take those
when
steps and everything.
right, right. So
Hmm.
make sure that you have your finances in place because unfortunately there are women who don't have that, but there
Yeah.
are resources. And now with ChatGPT, you can go on ChatGPT and actually research resources. Where can I find help? Where can I find,
Hmm.
clothing? Where can I, find a home. And I actually did this for a woman a few days ago. Like, she said, I have to leave, I have to leave, I have to leave. I said, okay, so let's go on ChatGPT right now. And I did it for her. I didn't charge her any money for it. She goes, I have to come up with this X amount of dollars. I said, okay, so let's research. And so I gave her the research and I said, this is what you could do. And she raised $500 in 2 days.
Wow. So I think
See that? I empowered her.
financial independence
Yes,
is really important, and like you
yes,
said, you first made up
exactly.
your life, you first went and worked, you made yourself better before you could take that decision to actually step out.
Right,
You also
exactly.
spoke about, you said that you had a lot of limiting beliefs, and now you are working
Mm.
with women around the globe. You're, helping them to break that silence. In your experience, what are some limiting beliefs you have seen that actually, hinder a woman's growth anywhere that they are?
That's a good question. It's fear, self doubt,
Okay.
not having confidence within themselves because they've been beaten down to the ground emotionally, and also triggers, meaning that they're still feeling stuck in the past. And unless you break that cycle, you're going to be in the same place that you were before and maybe worse.
Hmm.
So I I invested in a mentor, and I always invest in myself in mentorship
Yeah.
to learn the tools and techniques. And that's what the tools and techniques that I have learned. I implemented that, and now I help other women do the same.
That's
Because
good.
who wants to live a life filled with sadness?
Right. So when you say fear, fear of what?
Their fear of being alone,
Okay.
because they've been with them for, like, for me, it was 23 years. So I took myself out to dinner one night, and this is like right during the divorce. This is right in the heat of it. I took myself out to dinner one night to a
Wow.
restaurant, and it's a historic hotel. I said, I'm just going to go there, and wow, I ate by myself. And there was a friend who called me from Norfolk, Virginia, and she said, dining alone can be very tranquil. And she was 100% right.
And it takes courage, to
That's when I
say that if
started to
you
go out.
can dine
It
alone.
takes courage to go out by yourself.
Yeah.
People don't realize that because, you've been with the same person for, like, let's say 20 years. And I've known women who have left, they are divorced after like 26 years, even longer than me, you know. I visited a friend this summer, not this summer, last summer. Uh, her ex is narcissistic, and she divorced after 28 years of marriage. It does happen. I mean,
I mean,
unfortunately,
I
it does
also have
happen.
friends who have been through this, where the partner was narcissist, and after 30 years of marriage, 32 years of marriage, when the kids grew up and were in their own life, they just took the step, and it's important. So, like you said, these are some of the limiting beliefs. But how can we break free from these beliefs?
That's a good question. The way to break free from beliefs is to first recognize it and admit, and I did
Just give
healing
me a second.
techniques. A
You have
lot
to
of
hold
my
on.
healing
I have to drink
journey.
water. Just hold on.
Go ahead.
Something I ate got stuck. I will
I
repeat the question.
completely understand. I completely understand.
They will
And
edit
I
it.
am having my tea. because I came down with, I'm much better now, but it's allergy season now.
Yeah,
So
exactly. But they'll edit this, so that's why I didn't put a pause. But I'll repeat the questions. Like, so you were speaking about
sure, go ahead.
limiting beliefs, and you were speaking about some of these limiting beliefs like fear. So how can you break free from limiting patterns? I mean, how did you break free, which can help other women also to, go beyond all these limiting beliefs and patterns?
Sure, absolutely. I'm more than happy to share that. So for me, I had to identify the belief. So ask yourself, what thought keeps playing on repeat that's holding me back? And in
Mhm.
other words, I used to say, I'm not good enough. No one listens to me. I am not worthy. I don't
The
feel
narrative,
successful
the
anymore.
narrative that you have.
It keeps
Mm.
repeating in your head. It
Yeah.
keeps repeating in your head and again and again and again. And the more that's negative self-talk.
Hmm.
So the first thing is to identify that belief. So for me,
Okay.
it was not feeling confident, not feeling worthy anymore. Oh, I'm not good enough. And even my ex would tell me that, you know, he would tell me, you're not going to make it. You're not going to do this. You're not going to do that. And that sent me, yes, while it did send me down a rabbit hole, I incorporated healing techniques. So some of the healing techniques that I implemented was a lot of my journey was journaling with intention, meaning I started to focus on gratitude and actually the blessings that I had in my life. I had supportive friends.
Hmm.
I asked for help. And that takes courage to ask for help because, I was known, I had lost my identity and, I had to do a lot of self development
Hmm.
and self awareness and tracing the root of the limiting belief. So, where did that belief come from? In my case, it was my ex. It could come from a parent. It could come
Okay.
from school.
Okay.
So I wrote it down and I replaced those limiting beliefs because I'm sorry, I am worthy and I am beautiful. God didn't bring me this far to leave me now. So speak life back into existence. Speak it out there to the universe
Right.
because the
Right.
universe rewards action. So I started to speak positivity into my
And
life.
that really helps, right? It changes your entire mindset and prepares you for the day.
Oh yeah, that's huge.
Absolutely.
That's a
Absolutely.
lot
I'm
of
such a
part.
huge
That's a
believer
big
of
part of
this.
what I teach. Right, right, exactly. Because that's a big part of what I
Yeah.
teach
Yeah.
is, yeah, is breaking free. We're going to peel back the layers. So
True.
I peel back the layers,
Wow. And I think
and
what you're
it
saying is
can
right.
come
You
from
you've been through that journey, so you know what it takes to be there.
exactly. I know what it takes to be there, but then you can overcome it. You
Yes.
can because and that's what I did and I spoke life into myself because we speak our lives into existence. So
Yeah.
if you keep telling yourself that you're not worthy, you're not beautiful, you're not this, you're not that, I'm never going to make it, that becomes your reality. Your thoughts
Yeah.
create your reality. But
True.
when you start to speak positivity into your life,
Mhm.
I am worthy, I am beautiful. I journal every single morning 10 things, sometimes more, that I am grateful for. And that brings you into a state of gratitude. And when that happens, then you allow abundance to flow in your life.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
also, during that phase, you said that you also were working. That means you were taking control of your finances, you were taking control of your career growth. So what are some of the
Yes.
steps women should take so that they can take control of their finances as well as their career?
Mm. If they have a full time job or they're still working, keep working.
Mm.
Don't leave your full time job unless you have at least 6 months to a year of savings put away. For me, I sought entrepreneurship because I love working. First of all, you're in control of your own destiny. But as far as women financially, get a financial advisor. I have a financial advisor. In fact, I have an appointment this afternoon. So I have a financial advisor. So get your finances in order, a budget, have a written budget in place.
Okay.
If you pay rent like me, I pay rent, or if you own a home, a mortgage or whatever, you know, have a budget in place and make sure you stick with that budget. Make sure you stick with that budget. So, and also stop taking advice from people who've never been in your shoes.
Oh, yes.
That's a huge thing. That's huge.
Yeah.
That is huge. If they have not gone, in fact, I did go for therapy for 1 year.
Yeah,
She
and I
went through
don't think
domestic
we even
violence.
know where the problem exists, and the types of advices that they land up giving just pushes you back into the state from where you came. Rather than helping you to progress,
Exactly.
they actually regress your development. So I think that's such a huge one. Like you
Exactly.
said, don't listen to people who have not been there, who have not experienced what you're experiencing, because that understanding level is far different.
Exactly. Don't listen to people who haven't gone through it.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to help you. They're not going to help you. Like for me, I've had male coaches and I've had female coaches. And, I think one of my therapist that I had for 1 year, she went through domestic violence. So she was able to help me. In fact, she suggested start going out by yourself. So find what, lights you up. What is your passion?
Absolutely.
Write it down, journal it with intention. Because you know what? You learn a lot about yourself and you become more self-aware of what your passions truly are and then what you don't like. So
true. That is great. Wow. I think you have been a person who has not only just overcome things, but has started to help others to do the same thing. And I love the title, Let's Break the Silence.
Thank you.
What's one advice that you would give to women who are on their journey to success?
So for women who are on their journey to success, my advice is stay the course. There's going to be ups and downs, peaks and valleys as you're going through your journey towards success. And I've gone through the same thing myself.
Yeah.
So stay the course, have a mentor, and write your goals down and make sure that they are intentional. Make sure that you have what I called is a direct method of operation. It's a DMO. First thing in the morning, it's God first. I pray, I do meditations,
Gratitude.
I journal. Gratitude. That's huge. And stay away from people who will belittle your ambitions. So surround yourself with people who are on a higher level than you and who will encourage you to reach your goals, because that's huge, especially for me. I reached several breakthroughs on my journey, and that is success to me. Being an impact, having to share my story with the world, and having the courage to share my story. So stay the course, never give up.